I like winter, although sometimes I hate it. Drivers know what I mean. Besides that, I really enjoy this season. I like the fluffy snow that gives that extra something and magical touch to the holiday season, as well as the warm radiators, good wine or homemade liquor, and Home Alone, of course. I also like hearing Merry Christmas Everyone or Last Christmas on the radio. Yes, that is probably everything I like about winter and Christmas. I'm already a rather big kid, about to turn 30 soon, but the sentiments will always remain. Judging by my age, I obviously no longer believe that Santa Claus comes down the chimney at night, or that talking animals show up on Christmas Eve. Consequently, I do not expect gifts, yet we gladly accept everything that we get. That is our mentality. The best is free. Considering what happened to me, I will not give names and places of residence, because I am afraid for you, and I do not want you to look for it. I realize that many paranormal seekers would sacrifice a lot in order to prove their theories, but I do not believe it is worth it. It needs to be forgotten, and no one should give in. Do not give in. It was a winter morning, and I was the only one awake in the house. I put water in the kettle slowly, and I was surprised to hear someone ringing the doorbell. With a lazy step, I went out of the kitchen into the corridor, and then headed for the front door. But once I opened it, no one was there. I only found a neatly packed box on the doormat at the threshold that looked obviously like a gift. I picked it up and found a label on the side but no addressee. I was the recipient. I did not recall ordering anything, so I went back inside and placed the package on the kitchen counter. I brewed a yerba mate, and then I took the mysterious gift with me upstairs to my room. I put the matzo down on the desk. I turned on my computer, and, in between, I unwrapped the gift. It looked like a box to the touch, but upon unpacking it, I realized that it was a book protected by hard cardboard on both sides. Great, I thought sarcastically to myself. I do not read books. They simply bore me, so I threw it on the bed next to the torn package and sat down in front of the monitor. Time flew by quickly during the afternoon as I spent it watching movies, listening to music, chatting with friends on Facebook, had dinner in between, and then went back to surf the net. In winter, I always have more free time than in spring or summer, allowing me to experiment the carefree laziness that I love so much. Things changed around 4 p.m. because of a crash that led me to have no internet. It turned out that the fiber optic cable was broken by a branch under the pressure of snow, and it was a Friday, which meant that the ISP would not fix the problem on the same day. It was most likely that they would arrive on Monday. Unfortunately, the latter option fell through. I was devastated. Although I had data transmission in the phone, it was not the same. I stretched out on the armchair and turned towards the bed. What's the harm? I thought. Since I got a present, I will at least take a look at it. Read a page, 2, maybe 3. Only then I looked at it closely to find a dark red smooth hardcover with the title engraved on it. Desire. It was okay. The interesting thing was that I did not find an author, ISBN, publisher's name, or anything to give me some information besides the content of the book. The content itself, without chapters or numbered pages. What am I going to read? I started reading it, and it absorbed me deeply. 2 hours passed like a couple of minutes until I eventually got tired, so I decided to put the book down on the desk next to the monitor. I stretched and yawned, feeling a bit weird over the fact that I did not remember anything at all. What the hell was going on? I brushed it off, thinking that my brain probably went into intellectual shock after reading my first book in 10 years. I got hungry, so I started thinking of something good to eat when my sister knocked at my door and entered the room. "Do you want pizza?" I forgot to tell you that we ordered some. This one is yours, just like you like it. Cheese, mushrooms, and salami. Enjoy it, she said, smiling at me. "Thanks," I replied, a little confused and weirded out over the fact that I almost thought about it. This coincidence was very convenient for me. On Saturday, according to my guess, we still had no internet. Fortunately, I got up late, almost at dinner time. I avoided having to fill my time out of boredom, but I still felt tired after having slept almost 12 hours. It was normal for me. I ate dinner, watched TV in the living room for a while, and went to my room. I reached for the book at a similar hour as the day before. The reading was absorbing and the content was amazing. It was a piece of work that only a genius could create. The number of reading pages was growing at an amazing pace, judging by the thickness of the pages on the left side, which I considered to be pretty good for someone who had avoided literature for an entire decade. It was getting late, and I started to get tired after an unproductive day, so I put down my book and I laid down. I wanted to go back in my mind and think about I had read until now, to draw any conclusions or morals from reading before going to bed when I realized it. I could not remember anything, once again. Damn it. How the hell is this even possible? While I was reading, the book was playing with my emotions and caused quite an impression, so it was strange that I now had forgotten everything. Another 2 hours of reading went to waste. I felt like smashing all the furniture in my room out of irritation, but not only that, I would smash the furniture that was all over the house, and, if I had enough strength, I would also do it in the neighbor's house, and how would I fall asleep now? Somehow, I was able to do so. I did not reach for the book to check what today's pages were about, but I thought about coming back to it tomorrow. Maybe. Damn, something must be seriously wrong with my concentration, or I might some kind of health problem. Maybe it was because of my thyroid. I do not know anything about medicine, so I was not sure. I have never had this kind of affliction before. Sunday is usually a day to rest for most people, but it was not a typical day for me. I was awakened by screams coming down from downstairs. I could sense the hysteria from far away and hear the uncensored words. A lot of them. When I ran downstairs to see what was going on, I found that everyone was already there. I could not believe my eyes. The furniture, paintings, curtain rods, chandeliers, every decoration had turned into one big mess, so to speak. The kitchen furniture looked as if it had been hit by an axe or a heavy hammer repeatedly, and the torn curtains on the floor were covering the splinters of wood that resulted from the impact. Or at least it looked that way. The problem was that nobody had heard anything. The noise of such devastation would spread through the whole house and even wake up the nearest neighbors. Yet we heard nothing. Complete silence. For the record, we found this scenario repeated in the corridor, the bathroom, and the living room. Dad did not hesitate to grab the phone, which luckily remained untouched. "Come immediately to," Dad asked. According to what I mentioned, I will omit the address. "What do you mean all the police cars are already here?" Dad looked out the window. "Jansa, damn it." He shouted into the phone and hung up. I quickly ran to the window, avoiding the obstacles that were laying on the ground. Oh, fuck. I was not able to hide my emotions either. The officer on duty was right, because I found many police cars on our street. I counted 3, but there could have been more. They were taking statements from house to house while some panicked people were running from one neighbor to another in disbelief while holding their heads or smoking cigarettes. Sometimes they combined both. What was going on? Yesterday, my frustrations over forgetting the content of the book had created the same exact image in my head, but I would never do such a thing. Why would I? I went back to my room in a flash to notice, only then, that it was also trashed. It did not matter, because the only important thing was her, framed in red. At first, I did not believe what I was doing at all. I thought I was being paranoid, but what happened on our street was real, and I could not explain it rationally. Why did it happen? Why now? Was it her fault? Her, framed in red? It did not make any sense. It was probably just a coincidence. However, I opened the book on a bookmarked page. It did not make any sense. Why did I bookmark it when I cannot remember a single word of the text? What was going on? I put it down on the desk and slapped my forehead, sitting down on the bed. At least it was not ruined. Nothing from outside was getting to me. After a long moment, I found that I could not break the pressure, though. I reached out for the book once again and started to read it. I wanted to get to know her. I put it down after an hour, and the same thing happened. Emptiness. Only desire remained unchanged. Desire to know her, her nature, her true face, her. I spent my Sunday and Monday until noon cleaning up the mess. I just could not deal with the mess growing in my head and building uncertainty with each passing moment, lifting it out of my sight. Damn, that sounded very poetic. Too many thoughts and enigmas, and I needed to get some rest. I wanted to look for information about her on the internet now that our connection was working, while the data package was still unused. Still, how could I search for her? Perhaps book without the author. The given phrase was not found. Next, I tried searching for book with red cover, and I immediately knew it was silly after hundreds of books with that cover color appeared. None of them resembled my gift. Lastly, I searched book that you don't remember anything from after you read it, which was even sillier. The caption the specified phrase was not found came up a dozen more times. I then decided to let it go. I put the phone down and sat down on the ragged sofa in front of the TV. We were lucky that something did not smash the electronics along with the furniture. A gracious something. In the TV, I did not find anything interesting besides the game, so I switched programs not knowing exactly what I was looking for. A nature program about giraffes, a program about cars, news about the escape of a dangerous patient from a mental hospital, until something finally caught my attention. It was a program about literature. I did not even know that we were subscripted to anything of that sort. A literature expert was talking about anagrams in literary works, which was interesting, and it enlightened me. That is exactly what I did. I got my hands on it, and started searching it, changing the order of the letters in many words, not finding a single anagram. I rearranged the syllables of an entire sentence, and nothing. I hoped, but they say that hope is the mother of fools. I was very anxious and wanted to figure it out, so I threw the devil out of nervousness. It hit the damaged bookshelf that was now pieces filling an empty shelf. Books. I will ask someone who knows about books, so I had to go to the library. I would be able to get there that same day before closing time. I was dazzled. I quickly got dressed, grabbed my book, and went out of the house without telling anyone about it. The public library was closed, and I would not be able to start the car because of the snow, as I did not have time to take it out of the way. I walked as fast as I could, although sometimes I had to slow down by sidewalks covered with snow or ice, but I managed to get to the place without any bruises on my body. The librarian gave me a wry look, and I do not blame her because I brought some snow inside. Nevertheless, I ignored it and approached her. "Good morning," I greeted her. "Good morning," she answered, looking at the puddles forming on the tiles behind me. "I wanted to know something about this book. I am very curious to know the name of the author." It does not say who is the author." She was surprised, examining it in her hands. "That is the point. You see, I really enjoyed reading this book, and I would like to read other novels by this writer. I have seen many type books, but all of them has some data, and I cannot see anything here. I think this could be the original, but printed and bound. I guess someone wanted to see what their creation would look like beforehand and decided to create a physical version of it. If you want to know more, maybe you should classify the literature. What is the book about?" What was it about? I forgot everything about it momentarily. What the heck? I finally said, "The book is about desires, wishes, and their fulfillment, and it is also about secrets whose intentions the reader cannot guess." That doesn't tell me much, actually. What period time does the plot take place in? Who are the characters and what do they struggle with? It takes place in modern times. The protagonist is a simple boy around whom unexplained things start happening. Then it is a mix of thriller and contemporary fantasy. Start with that. You know what? The font intrigues me. What's so unusual about it? I asked her, surprised. Give me a second. I had a magnifying glass here somewhere. There it is. She found it under a pile of papers. The thing is that there is no font like it. Of course, it looks like those you normally use in books, but there are some nuances in it. Namely, let me look more closely. Unbelievable. No, it's not possible. Absolutely out of the question, she said, flipping through the pages. Excuse me, but what is so incredible? One should ask a real expert about it. As far as I can see, the entire text is handwritten, not printed. That was insane, and I was sure that the librarian was wrong. It is not possible. No human could do such a thing. I know it sounds crazy, but look closely at these blurs and spots that are barely noticeable, she explained, handing me a magnifying glass. Look there, right next to the letters. This object is too small to see it fully, but perhaps the image would be more accurate under a microscope. I can see. I don't think that proves anything, though. Typewriters or printers don't leave marks like that. I won't tell you anything else for the moment, but I'll look for similar cases in my spare time, just out of curiosity, she told me. I have searched, with poor results. Still, I'll try anyway. In that case, thank you very much. I'll come back in a couple of days. Goodbye. Goodbye. I turned around and looked down at the tiles. Damn, I cannot do that without a mop in this weather. Where have you been? My dad asked nervously. In the library, I replied briefly. You don't read. Well, it's never too late to start reading, I answered, hanging my jacket on the hanger. And you decided to start reading with that one. You'll be reading it until you retire, he joked. Maybe. I did not elaborate, because I did not have the time or the inclination to do so. The situation of the demolished house was a pain, not only for us, but for everyone. From what I heard from my parents' conversations, I learned that the owners of the demolished houses, the police, and the city council were going to meet at the city hall in the evening in order to discuss the issue. I wonder what did they want to accomplish? It was going to be a lonely evening. My sister wanted to go to her friend's place, and my parents were going to drop her off on the way to the town hall. But was the evening going to be lonely? After all, she was waiting for me, the one in red. She did not speak or move, but she was just a man-made object. I did not want to take her in my hand, but the desire to know her secrets was too strong. It is always like that with the things that we desire because the coin always has two sides. In both cases, it could be a sin, since it is possible to desire sin or to desire something unachievable without doing evil if the principle of the end justifies the means comes into play. It does not have to be like that, but our primal and unyielding desire pushes us down those paths that we have avoided in our lives. The question is whether the desire is just a desire or a temptation to which we succumb. I think that desire allows temptation, but when we do not desire, we cannot fulfill ourselves. We have free will, and we must use it. The world cannot be one big complex corporation that subjugates what it wants when it pleases. Now, that is enough about that. I have been thinking about life too much lately, but Christmas was coming and we all need to brighten up, including me. It is important to make the time a little more enjoyable. I wanted to grab a bottle of homemade wine or a pint of clear once I was alone while hanging out with my friend. I was left alone at 6:30 p.m., so I went down to the cellar where we have shelves full of bottles in abundance. Some of them were labeled with letters to make it easier to find what you wanted, what you were craving for the most. For today, I decided to look for the letter C. C for current. On the way to my room, I grabbed a corkscrew from the kitchen and went upstairs happily. I opened the wine, sniffed the pleasant aroma, and poured the whole glass. I was alone, so I did not care about manners of choosing the right vessel. I poured another glass after 2 gulps when an idea suddenly came to me. I quickly reached for the book and opened it to the first page. I once watched a program about hypnosis in which the mentalists were showing trivial tricks to trick human perception, and one of them showed a few seemingly random words from which the brain made some other association on a subliminal level. Somehow it went like this, and I think that everyone will know what I am talking about. The first letters of each word formed a new word. This book interests you. You will read it because it gives you pleasure. You desire to read it, and you must read it every day. This kind of encouragement, if we can call it that, went on for a dozen more pages. After reading a quarter of the book, the meaning of the hidden content changed, a sudden change in the choice of suggestions. You will desire something at this moment, right now. It is going to happen. Think about it. Think about it. Think about the desire, and it will happen. I do not remember exactly, but I think that my sister brought me a pizza around this time. The question is whether I really wanted it that much. I just remember thinking about it, and that was it. It was weird. I paused for a moment to continue deciphering the text, but this discovery did not reach me. At that point, I finished my second glass of wine when I remembered once again of a program hosted by a mentalist. I remember him saying that the suggestions hidden in a text can work instantly, so you do not have to read the whole thing. I thought that if I focused on flipping through the pages quickly, I might succumb to the words written there. Yet I decided to read the hidden suggestions more carefully. It turned out that, at the middle of the book, there was an inkling to want something which was followed by some kind of digression from the author, or rather, the authors. If you have made it all the way here, and if you know the secret of this book, we pledge to you, to give you the necessary information to further your plan. You will not fight what you are about to be confronted with. You wish to change the world. You must change the world. We know you too well, and we know that you want and desire to work with us. You are aware of what is going on around you. Deep inside, you feel that something is coming your way. Something inevitable is approaching, and only you have the determination to cope with the task. You yield and will yield to everything that has been and will be written. You will not fight against your conscience. Desire it, and it will come true. You are partially already one of us. This was only an introduction to the power of desire. Someday, you will fully understand what it is, but not yet. On the next page, we have written you an instruction that will change everything. From now on, your thoughts will be able to take over your life. Read. I read for a very long time, and I normally do not remember anything of it, but it was not about remembering. I was supposed to act and become part of a plan, although I did not know what kind of plan. The worst part was that I could not resist it. Was I frightened by the question of taking a life? Well, no. I did not have to give in to her, but I wanted to get to know her better while following suggestions and my own fascination. I had almost finished reading the entire book when my parents returned from the meeting. Who would have thought I would be so absorbed with the content of the book that I would not get to the bottom of the bottle? It does not matter. I did not want to go downstairs, so I simply opened the door and quietly walked up the stairwell to eavesdrop on their conversation. The sound carried perfectly upstairs. The conversation was about the police and the city government were not helping. Even the church had taken an interest in the case, considering to perform exorcisms. The worst thing is that the majority of the citizens were in favor with this idea. Some laughed at him, but the priest is a good sniffer, from my perspective. However, It was better if the state of things remained the same. I would not give her up. She was too precious to me. A priest should not meddle in matters he knows nothing about. What I heard was enough for me, so I headed to bed. The morning was pleasant. Outside the window, I could see that everything was painted white with fluffy snow. Last Christmas was playing on the radio in the kitchen, of course, and it was very pleasant. The phone rang and Mom answered while I stood there, watching her reactions. I did not do it on purpose, but her broken voice caught my attention. She hung up the phone. The priest, who suggested that the clergy investigate the matter at yesterday's meeting, died of a massive heart attack. The librarian, whom I was supposed to visit again to see if she had learned anything about the book, won a big amount of money in a lottery and died on her way to collect the prize. Damn. The book makes something happen after reading parts of it, but it also prevents anyone but me from using it. The authors wrote that I was the one they have chosen to carry out a grand plan, and also mentioned what will be written, which I did not understand fully. I rushed upstairs upon hearing this, and my mother was so shocked that she did not pay attention to my behavior. Perhaps she was too upset, or she thought that I was upset from the news. I did not care at all. On the contrary, my fascination and desire to know the last pages were powerful, and I felt warm. My heartbeat was harder when I took the books in my hands, which were getting wet from sweat as shivers ran down my spine. In waves, one after another. What was happening to me? It was not me. I would never kill anyone. Why everything that I feared suddenly became natural? Why did it become a part of me? What force influenced me to such an extent that someone else's death caused by one of my thoughts became a part of me? I have no idea, but I was sure of one thing. Something was starting to take control of me. I do not know if it was a possession or a mental illness, yet I wondered what thoughts others would have had if they were in my situation. Would others also experience an existential crisis, or would they just drop the matter? I do not know or care. All that matters is me and her. I had to finish what I started and read to the end, surprised to find out that the ending had no hidden suggestions. Then, I took it upon myself to decipher the whole thing, figuring out only vague clues and information regarding the grand plan. I will not tell anyone about it, at least for now, because I do not know the details myself. What I read was a bunch of fanatical conspiracy theories that are not proved, and I killed a priest at a distance. That was very real, beyond human comprehension, impossible to explain. However, it is worth presenting the last paragraph, which went like this. The last page will be your guide. You already know the principles of our work, what to do, and how to do it. The last blank page will be filled tomorrow morning. You will read it and do exactly what is written on it. Tomorrow, we start changing the world, and it depends on your decisions if change it for the better. We know exactly what you want. You are hiding a lot from the world by becoming its pushover. We guarantee you the justice that you desire so deeply. Justice will become your obsession, rightly so, for the great plan brings great changes and everything is worthy of them. Only someone who truly desires these changes can surrender to the book, like you. She has led you in, and we will lead you on. Wait until tomorrow. That was the ending. After reading the text, I stopped feeling anything and became bland. Someone had chosen me, and I was beginning to get suspicious about the situation. If this was actually true, I would be more than happy to carry out the great plan as a supporter of good and peace. The next morning, Christmas Eve morning, I opened the red book on the last page as instructed. It had been blank last night, and now it was written. The contents read as follows. As part of gaining experience, you will kill everyone in your area who is led by evil. You will get rid of them. We leave the method, time, and place to you. Of course, we will be very pleased if you demonstrate some finesse to us. Kill everyone who cannot control the evil inside of them. That is your starting point, and it is very simple. We are counting on you and trust that you will not let us down. At the end of the first stage of training, we have to let you know one thing. We are everywhere, and we see everything.